And what we're doing today is we are together for one of our all-age services. But what we've started to look at and think about is, rather than just let's do a talk for the adults to listen to and something for the kids to do while that's going on, and then a little kids spot that kind of engages the children, one thing that I've been chatting about is slight shift to more of an intergenerational focus, where we are coming together and actually engaging together in exploring the Word of God. So if you have got children or people of different ages on your table, fantastic. Would really encourage you to use this morning to engage with the people around you. There are going to be little opportunities for you to discuss together. There'll be opportunities for you to explore what God is saying to us through the Bible together. If you're on a table where there's only 2 or 3 of you, what you might choose to do is join with another table so that you've got a slightly bigger group. So that's how this morning is going to go. Might be a little bit chaotic. It will be a little bit crazy at times. But we're going to go with it. And we're going to see what God is saying to us today. Now, you've all been sat down for a very long time, far too long. Eli has been busy this morning scattering around some hidden treasure cards. You will see them all around the room. I said, can you scatter them around? And he literally went around scattering like confetti. So they're all around the room. They are not in any places that we can't go in. So they're not behind those chairs over there. They're not in the worship or stage area at all. They are literally all within this main hall. And your challenge on your tables is to find all of the cards of your table colour. Okay, so table 3, what colour are you? Orange. So table 3 will be looking for orange cards. Okay, they've got a little envelope to put them in. Just a little warning, there are a couple of colours that are very similar. So you're looking for an exact colour match. Okay? We're going to stick some music on. We're going to get children to help us out here. Ready, steady, go. Okay, who's going to help me count down? Can you count down? 10,
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up.
Thank you, Eli. Thanks, guys. Okay. Hopefully, you can have that one, that's okay. Hopefully, you've all got a bunch of cards on your table. Give me a wave if you have not found any. Oh, well, that's a good start. Give me a wave if you've got less than 5. That's a really good start. Okay. What we're going to do is we're just going to have a look at what is written on those cards. There may be a couple of blank ones. That's a chance for you to add something if you would like to. And I want you to have a go in your teams, in your groups, at just putting these cards in order. Which ones do you value the most? Which ones do you value the least? This is going to be a best fit because you might have some very different views amongst you on your tables. But we're just going to give it about 2 or 3 minutes and see if you can have a go at putting these in order. Which do you value the most? Which do you value the least? I think that means our time is up. Really interesting. I didn't quite get round every single table, but I did spotted some arguments happening on a couple of tables. One family who have pets had a debate about how important their pets are to them, and there were some very different views within their family. I saw one couple, I'm sure they won't mind me pointing them out, where the husband had written his own card, "My wife." And he'd put that right at the very, very top. I don't know if Annie told him to do that or not, but that's lovely. I was talking to Shane about this via email, and he said something along the lines of, imagine if you were stranded on a desert island and you could only have one of these things with you. What one thing would you choose? Is there anything amongst this list that you might feel like I absolutely could not live without this particular thing? Oh, I can see some people shuffling their cards around. Go on, Pete.
We moved phone from less important to very important.
Although that was just a little bit of fun, I hope it was fun. I can see lots of smiling faces, so hopefully people are enjoying themselves this morning. But in amongst that excitement, we are actually going to be taking a little look a little bit more deeply into what are the things in our lives that we value the most. What are the things that maybe we feel like we absolutely could not live without? And you will notice that all of the things that were written on your cards were things of this earth. Things that we encounter and have in our everyday lives. Are any of these things that we will be taken to heaven with us? Now, we are going to explore this a little bit further. We're going to look at today's Bible story. We've got a short Bible story to look at, and then we're going to spend a little bit of time exploring that together on our tables. Jesus often used stories called parables to give us lessons, to teach us, to show us something new. And we've been exploring some of those parables in our children and youth groups. And what we found was some of them we'd heard, especially some of us older ones, like the deeper groups, some of the parables we've heard many, many, many times before. But actually, as we've looked a little deeper, we've found that we've been able to take something new from those stories. What is God saying to me through these words? So I'm going to invite Tishy up to read us today's parable. It's really short, but actually there's a lot that we can take from this. You might have even started to guess what it might be about. Over to you, Tishy.
The parables of the hidden treasure and the pearl. The kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field. When a man found it, he hid it again, and then in his joy went and sold all he had and bought that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant looking for fine pearls. When he found one of great value, he went away and sold everything he had and bought it.
Thank you, Tishy. Okay, now I have got Eli coming up to join me. No, I haven't. Okay. Do you want to join me, Eli? I'm going to tell a story, okay? And what I had asked was for Eli to act out this story as I'm telling it. If he doesn't want to, that's fine. But what I want you to do is just picture yourself in this scene. What are the things that you might see? What are the things that you might be hearing or encountering if you were here in this story? I think I might have turned too many microphones on, have I? No, I don't know. Okay. A man called Eli was walking home from work. It was getting late. It was getting dark. He was tired. I know, he thought. I'll take a shortcut through old Ibrahim's field. So he did. The field was very muddy because it had been raining. He didn't have his wellies on, he had his work shoes on, and his feet started to sink into the mud, and he had to pull his feet out of the mud time and time again. This was such a silly idea, he thought. I should have stayed on the path. Just as he grumbled, he hit his foot on something sharp. Ow! He howled with pain and rubbed his foot, jumping up and down. What on earth could hurt my foot in the midst of all this mud in this field? He asked. He bent down to have a look. It was a box. He opened the lid, and to his total amazement, he saw that the box was completely full of treasure. His eyes nearly popped out of his head. Quickly, he looked about him. No one was around. No one had seen anything. He dug until the hole was deep enough to hide the box again and buried it deep. He couldn't steal the box. It belonged to Ibrahim because it was his field, and stealing was wrong. He could show Ibrahim the box, but no, the only thing to do was to buy the field. The man went straight to Ibrahim's house. I want to buy your field, he says. Which field? Ibrahim says. I've got 6 fields. Oh, that one, the one that's furthest away from the river, said the man. Ibrahim thought, I do really like that field. It will cost you a lot of money. Name your price, said the man. Ibrahim told him the price. The man was worried. It was a lot of money. More than he had in the bank. But he just had to have that box of treasure. I'll buy it, he cried. I need the money, said Ibrahim. Okay, I'll give it to you tomorrow, the man said. He shook hands with Ibrahim and left. The man went home. He got all his money out of the bank. Was it enough? No. So he went out and he looked around. Oh, his car! He could sell his car. But would that be enough? No, still not enough. He started to sell some of the things that you might have seen written on the cards on your table. He even sold his house, his motorbike, his phone, his iPad, his laptop. Even when he'd sold all of those things, do you think he had enough money to buy the field? Still no. So, I got a bit carried away. At that point, he hadn't sold his house. So, he sold his house and everything in it. And finally, there was enough money to buy the field. He ran around to Ibrahim's house and he gave him the money. Wow, you really wanted my field, Ibrahim said. What's so special? The man didn't answer. He owned nothing in the world anymore. None of this stuff. But he had the field and the treasure. He went into his own field and dug the box up. He sat down in the mud and he looked at the golden treasure. After all, he thought, it was worth it. Now we're going to take a little bit of time on our tables just to explore what is Jesus saying to us in this story. So this is slightly different to a normal Sunday morning service because we're not going to sit down and listen to somebody speaking to us. We're doing the talking, okay? So I've got a few different things that I would like you to explore on your tables, and I'm going to be joining in with this as much as I can too. So we're going to look at this short little story. It's only 3 verses in the Bible. In fact, the bit about the treasure in the field is only 1 verse. The first verse that Tishy read out. But we're going to look at that a little bit more deeply and look at the words that Jesus uses as he tells this story and just unpick, is there anything that God is saying to me today? So the first part, the kingdom of heaven. What does Jesus mean when he talks about the kingdom of heaven? So what I want you to do on your tables is take a sheet of paper, and if the kids have drawn all over your sheets of paper, that's fine, I've got more. And somebody's going to be your scribe, they're going to be your writer. And in the middle of this sheet of paper, they're going to write the kingdom of heaven. And I just want you to chat on your tables. What do we think this means? What do I think of when I see those words, the kingdom of heaven? What does that make me think? What does Jesus mean when he used those words, the kingdom of heaven? Off you go. Okay, some really, really interesting discussions going on. Does anyone quickly want to, is there anybody that would like to feedback something that has been said on their table that they would love to share with everybody? Oh, let me go to Eunice. Whoop, in and out the chairs. Mm-hmm.
It's been written down. And for me, the kingdom of heaven is that we are royalty. If we are born again, part of God's children, we are princes and princesses. To live that life in reality. Yeah.
Amen. Thank you. Jaina, do you mind me telling everybody what you said? So Jaina said something that really gave me a lot to think about. She said, well, a kingdom is like a place where somebody rules over that place. And she said, God rules over the world. So the world is like the kingdom of heaven. And that gave me a lot to think about. Thank you so much, Jaina, for that. Is there anything else that anybody would like to feedback before we move on? Yeah.
We had lots of questions. We could be here all day answering them, I think. But we talked about is it a place, or is it a community, or is it something else?
Yeah, I sometimes find when I delve really deeply into what the Word of God is saying, sometimes it does. It leaves me with more questions than answers. And I'm not here preaching today. I'm here just facilitating a conversation between all of us where we explore together. Hopefully we will come away. We expect that when we read the Word of God, we will come away having been spoken to by Him. But I'm certainly not stood up here with the answers. I can see a lot of the things that you've written down. I've got question marks on the end. Is it everywhere? Is it on earth? Is it something for us today, or is it something for the future, or both? You know, so yeah, that brings up sometimes more questions than answers, but that's okay. The kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field. So that's the next word that we're going to explore. So if you pop the word treasure in the middle of your paper, and again, if you need more paper, please feel free to come and grab some. Earlier on in the book of Matthew, in Matthew 6, Jesus said, where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. So that just made me think for a moment. I really need to stop and examine myself a little bit. You know, all of these things that we had written down on these cards that we ordered on our tables. Are there some things in there that I treasure, perhaps a little bit too much? And are they the things that are capturing my heart? So I will be really, really honest with you, and Johnny will back me up here. I've got quite an unhealthy relationship with my phone. I'm always on my phone. And when it's bedtime, Johnny is really disciplined. He puts his phone on charge downstairs and he goes up to bed. And I say, well, how do you know when to wake up? He's got an alarm clock, old school alarm clock that tells him when to wake up, tells him what the time is. If he wakes up in the night, he needs to know what the time is. He's got these things called books that he can read before he goes to bed, if he needs to unwind a little bit. And then there's me with my phone. Sometimes I don't sleep very well and I wake up in the night and I'm just scrolling through my phone. Sometimes Johnny will come to bed and he'll find me, you know when you watch a video on social media and it plays again and again and again, it just plays on a loop. I don't know why it does that. So Johnny has sometimes found me asleep just with this video playing again and again and again and again on a loop. And I don't know what it is. I don't even remember looking at it. So that's a real challenge for me to take away today. I'm aware of it. I've shared it in a massive room full of people now as well. What am I going to do? Because actually, is that thing capturing my heart a little bit too much? So what are the things that we treasure? What does it mean when it talks about the treasure in that story? What do you think Jesus is showing us when he talks about that treasure? So we're just going to explore that for a moment. What does it make you think of when you read that word treasure? What do you think Jesus is saying to us? Or maybe even to you personally? And you might have something like I did, and you might not want to share it with everyone on your table. That's fine. This might be a moment where we ponder a little bit individually, as well as discussing on our tables. So treasure in the middle of your paper. Well, what does that make you think about? Off you go. You guys. Okay, I'm going to reluctantly bring that discussion to a bit of a close, even though there's some really, really interesting things being said on the tables. And I just got a bit distracted having a chat with someone as well. And that's fine. That's okay. So, treasure. What does this make us think of? If you don't mind, I'm just going to share something that we talked about on this table over here. And initially, there were some things written down, weren't there, from these cards. Things like pets. We'd also added, you guys had added friends and family, things that we really treasure, that are really, really important to us. And I agree with those, apart from pets, because I don't have any pets. But then somebody said God's love and faith. One of the children added the word faith. And we talked about how all of these things here will come to an end at some point. All the things that guy sold to get that field will come to an end at some point. And yet, God's love is never ending. And so I know lots of tables started to have those discussions about earthly treasures, stuff that we have here on earth, like the things that we talked about at the very beginning when we had all of those cards, and treasures in heaven that are eternal. And yeah, we could talk about that all day. And it's beyond our understanding in many ways. So it is going to bring up more questions than answers, perhaps. But it really got us thinking about perspective, about the difference between that eternal perspective and the perspective of just being so caught up with the here and now and what we see and value around us every day. Is there anything that anyone would like to feedback before we go on to, we've just got one more thing to move on to. I am going to collect, if you're happy for me to, I'll collect in all of these sheets afterwards, because I feel like we could just staple them all together, and we've written a book today. I'm like some people at those back tables, I was giving out another sheet of paper and then another sheet and then another sheet, because there were so many thoughts being captured, which I don't want to lose. So thank you all for joining in, participating and getting involved. I'm not really doing anything today. You're doing the work. There were a couple more things I was going to look at, but I'm aware of the time. So I think we'll just have one more time of discussion on our tables. And the two things that I was looking at were this. The idea of giving up everything. He sold all he had, absolutely everything. In that story, he sold all the things written down on these bits of cards that were important to him. He even sold his house. He gave up everything. What does that look like? Is Jesus telling us, actually, we need to go away, sell our house, sell our car, sell your TV, get rid of your phone, don't go on any holidays, stop going to the gym? Is that what Jesus is telling us that we should do? What's the message that's in there? So that's one thing that we can look at. And then one part of this verse that I do not want to miss. In his joy. In his joy, he went and did that. He actually enjoyed selling, in the modern day story, his car, his house, his iPhone, putting all of that stuff to one side. He actually found that a really joyful experience, because in putting all of those things to one side, he was discovering and owning something so much greater. So I just want us now to have a little think. In his joy, he gave up everything. What does that mean for us? What does that look like for us? And there's a little challenge there, because there might be something that you physically want to do as a response. And I might lead the way on that in a little bit. But I'll give you a few minutes just to discuss that on your tables. In his joy, he gave up everything. What does that look like for us? Okay, if we just start drawing those conversations to a close. Okay. Thank you so much. Somebody over there just said thank you to me, and I said, I'm not really doing anything. You guys are doing all of the exploring together. You're doing the preach. Again, some really, really interesting conversations, and I can't possibly even begin to sum up everything that's come up so far. No, thank you, Zeke. Zeke really values anything electronic. That would be top of his list. And he does not give those things up joyfully at the moment. So what can we take away with us as we go into the week ahead? We were chatting over there. Somebody gave the example of, do you say it was Charles Wesley? And he was preaching somewhere, like away from home, and someone contacted him and said, your house is on fire. And he said, okay, that's one less thing to worry about. I'm not. He was so focused on the things of God that actually that was what was important to him. He's like, I'm not going to be taking that with me when I step into eternity with God anyway, so that's one less thing to worry about. It was interesting when Johnny and I, last summer, we were really fortunate to find ourselves in the position where we were able to buy our first house, having rented for many, many years. And so we bought this little house on Charles Avenue, which many of you have been to. And it was at a time where it was quite difficult for first-time buyers. And there was a documentary being made. Was it Panorama? It was a BBC documentary being made by Panorama. And they contacted us. One of their BBC journalists contacted us and said, we want 3 or 4 families to be part of this Panorama programme about the challenges that first-time buyers are facing. Would you like to be on this documentary? And we were like, yeah, okay, sure, you know. So we had a Zoom call with her. She chatted things through with us, and she had lots and lots of questions. And there were a few things that we said that puzzled her a little bit. She said, so is this something you've been striving for and working towards for many, many, many years? Because it does take a long time to save up enough money to be able to put that deposit down and so on. And we said, no, not really. It's not the way that we see it. It doesn't actually belong to us. Like everything that we have, God has given to us. So You know, it's amazing that we're able to have this, and we hope that we can use it to bless other people. And we feel really blessed by it, being able to own this property, but it's not actually ours. She said, oh, okay. We said, well, we're not going to take it with us when we die. And she said, right, okay. And it was just very sort of upside down thing, you know, going back to the kingdom of heaven. I hear some people talking about the upside down kingdom and actually how, you know, living God's way with that eternal perspective. It's like our whole priority list is just turned completely upside down. And she was very confused. She actually came back to us about a week or two later and she said, I don't think you're exactly what we're looking for this programme. So we never got our 15 minutes of fame. But I hope we gave her something to think about maybe. So what can we take with us into this week ahead? For me, this is really big. And because I'm saying it in front of 100 people, I'm going to have to do this. For me, maybe it's putting my phone, Johnny's listening to me, so he will absolutely hold me to account. Maybe it's putting my phone on charge downstairs next to Johnny's when I go to bed. Maybe that's what I need to do, because maybe I'm just holding a little bit too much value on that thing. Maybe there's something that God is speaking to you about. And actually, if we're not going away from here changed, if we're not going away from here challenged, if we're not going away from here having an encounter with God, what are we doing here? I love the community. I love the chats that we've had. And I'm sorry I didn't quite get around to every single table. But there is also more. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to finish. I'm aware of the time. We still want to be done by 12. I'm going to invite the worship team up and we're going to sing our last song. And I'm also going to invite those who are on the prayer ministry team to, they're going to be around the front here as well. If there is anything at all that God has spoken to you about and you would like to stand with somebody in prayer for that thing, please do come forward. If there's anything at all that's not related to today and you would like to pray with someone, please don't leave here today without taking that opportunity to come and pray with somebody before you leave. We hope you have a really, really blessed week. Don't come here next Sunday. We'll be on our weekend away. For those of you not joining us at Dalesdown, we'll be back here in 2 weeks' time on Sunday. Thank you.